right. Howdy, everybody. Hope you're doing well. You know what? I don't know if I'm even going to tweet some more links right now. I just put them up about an hour ago, so. Tonight hey Ichthus, how's it going? Total excellence. Tonight we are going to look at some Joe Quesada comics, and then I'm going to see if I can draw something. I've been doing work for hire all day, but I was doing mostly my own project this last week, and it's been really fun, but I've been coloring, so I haven't been drawing on paper for like 2 weeks. I've been just coloring on my iPad on my Eris comic, which is cranking along, almost there, almost to the end. And so today I just wanted to draw on paper, but I'm out of practice, so we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to get one more stream in here before the holiday. It might not be a super long one tonight, but wanted to show off some of the things I've been looking at, which is some Joe Quesada. And I actually have some newer Joe Quesada stuff here too. Well, I've got Ash and then some Daredevils, which I might pull those out too. These are the ones I was primarily looking at. I really like old Joe Quesada a lot. And then the other thing I thought I would show off, I got my comps for the issue 2 second printing of The Moon is Following Us. This is the new comic by Danny Warren Johnson and Riley Rossmo. And so I am probably going to put these up on my store signed. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. I don't have very many copies. So if you're on the newsletter, I'll probably announce it there. But also, just stay tuned. Really cool to be on the cover for the second printing. I think they went back to, I don't know if they definitely went to 3 printings for the first issue, the second printing here for the second issue, and they might have even just done the same on the third. The book is doing great as far as connecting with people, and I think it's just going to grow its audience more and more, hopefully. I'm not going to spoil it. I've talked about it a lot on the show already. Everybody knows I love Dan and Riley. They're my buddies. And I think it's a really amazing comic. Highly recommend checking it out. Riley and Dan are both doing some amazing work on it. And if you didn't pick it up yet, you can definitely get the second issue with my cover on it, because it is the second printing. And like I said, I'll probably throw some of these up in my shop with signatures soon enough. Okay, Ichthus, finished reading The Schlub last week. It was fun and laugh out loud read. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Getting my hands dirty with coloring tonight. Very good. I know you're a colorist like this, so I'm sure you understand. It's a different thing than working on paper. It's fun in its own way. But yeah, let's look at some Joe Quesada. I think, let's see if we can look at these here in some kind of order. What would it be here? This is 92. This is 93, so I guess this one would be first. So I think the first place I came across Joe Quesada's work was on X Factor. I remember around this time I was buying comics, and the X books were my favorite. So I was definitely, jiving with a lot of this stuff. And I remember being really struck by how Joe Quesada drew. I really loved his exaggeration. This cover is one of my all-time favorite covers. It shows kind of a phase of his career where he was very, exaggerated, a little more cartoony, and you can see a lot of Mike Mignola influence, especially on this cover. Big areas of solid blacks, cool shapes, lots of depth, sometimes scarce on background details. But man, there is some really cool stuff in here. So this is Joe Quesada with Joe Rubinstein, I'm not sure how he pronounces it. Inks, so it is going to look a little different. A lot of people are used to the Palmiotti inks, which are always great. But I kind of like seeing them with some people that give a little different flavors. Some of the Palmiotti stuff comes across as a little bit, it's a little syrupy, a little smooth and kind of rolly, which can be nice. But you get some cool angles and some fat to thin here with the Rubinstein inks. This might be hard to see, but there's a really cool Wolverine drawing here that they did a color old on. And then every time he draws Mojo, it's just so gross, Like Mojo's killing some folks here, and he's just so disgusting. And I really like how he would exaggerate the mouths and the eyes and do all these little texture bits everywhere. He was sort of a super detailed, I mean, I guess he kind of has always been a super detailed artist. Here they're making a sandwich and he illustrates all the ingredients, the lettuce and the tomatoes and everything's in there. And then when it kind of falls out, it goes everywhere and you get all these different things flying through the air. This kind of stuff's really fun. That's the kind of thing I like to draw is pages like this where you can take something like a sandwich, a table getting tipped over and all these sandwich ingredients going out and make it really dynamic and really fun. But yeah, the way they did the costumes of this era for X Factor, I think were really cool. And honestly, it's a kind of a precursor to what you see in New X-Men. Their stuff has a lot more of a real world feel to it with stitching and zippers and it's not all completely form-fitting. And then the big X on the chest. I mean, this looks almost exactly like what they ended up doing with some of the New X-Men stuff. Again, just crazy angles. You're down here on the ground with these wires leading up into this desk and all these screens around this guy. I don't know who this guy is or anything. And then just here, the way he draws a Strong Guy, like just so big compared to everybody else. I mean, they're in the background, but he's just crunched up into this little plane that they're flying around in. I think at this phase they're kind of they're like a government team. Oh yeah, Spiral shows up in this. Look at this team shot. That is so cool. The stance here, the exaggeration of the figures, the size of Strong Guy, Rain up here in the foreground. But I love the way Alex is standing here. That's a pose I would use all the time. I love poses like that. There's like a feralness to it, Some cool effects he does here. These little circles, the stars. I was really liking that. And again, just the solid blacks on this page, like the spotted blacks are great. Man, the ads. But when he hits her with this tree, this kind of extreme, angle, and he's back here with his tiny little feet. There is a weird crop right here where his foot meets her leg. That's a little strange, but beyond that, this drawing is perfect. Man, I love these spotted blacks. Look at this. That's just so tough. It's so cool. That's really great. Just enough to give you that low angle, even though it's mostly silhouette. We'll Sinkwich Quicksilver here. Oh, and then this here is Derek Robertson. This is an annual, so there's a few different stories in it. And then I think there's another one in here by, Joe Madureira. I think this might have been one of Joe's first things published at Marvel. And it's kind of like, you can see Joe in there, but it's definitely a more cartoony look. You can see the McFarlane and the anime influence on some of that stuff. So kind of cool. There's a cool little thing. I think I got this in a pack of annuals at Walmart. They would sell like packs of comics. Ictus says those spotted blacks there hit the deadlines. They are effective. Well, deadline stuff can also be stuff that causes you to make decisions you never would have made before. Sometimes when you're under the wire, you can really, some magic can pop out. But yeah, the blacks just give so much weight. And so here he is with Al Milgrom inking him. And I kind of like Al Milgrom. I know it's not maybe the most popular inker for some people. But I like his kind of angularity to the way he inks. So there's, these little chunky little cuts in on some of his fatter lines. So they're not quite as, like I said, syrupy and like smooth. But this, again, Joe Quesada just has this great exaggeration here. And I love his ropey, my friend calls them spaghetti muscles. But yeah, the posture, the proportions that he's using on the characters is always really fun. Jeez, okay. I think this guy's called Random. But, you know, just like me, I can see he's in love with the smoke and everything around it, all that. It gives a lot of depth. Again, just like this big black shape right here on the side of the gun is really nice. And then I got to think he's looking at Mike Mignola, because there's a lot of similarities in some areas here. But yeah, like this arm is really incredible arm. You know, it's just kind of all these little tiny little shapes that have been kind of squished together to give volume. And then there's all these little tic-tacky hairlines on here, which I'm not sure how much of that was Joe and how much is the inker. Or, you know, which Joe, I guess they're both Joe. Anyway, this shapeshifter guy is pretty wild. I don't think he popped up much. He's got kind of a poochy look to him. But I really love that. And then the framing here, where you get the characters around him that he's defeated, and you get Havoc back here in the background, but, you know, through the legs, and then the smoke adding a whole nother layer of depth to it. And then you also have a panel break here. So you have a lot of cool depth stuff going on. This disc flying past him, Madrox, but then Madrox's feet breaking the panel into this space, which breaks into this space, and then you have all these layers in here. That's really nice. Cool face. Colors are fine. Nothing I'm super into here. But yeah, pretty cool. I do want to look at one Ash. I'm not sure if I'm going to break out all of these, but BMC Comics, hey, sorry I'm late. Good to see you too, man. Joe Mad's style has influenced so much of the video game industry. That's true. And you know what else? The video game industry has influenced Joe Mad for sure. There's a lot of his stuff that I know is like pretty heavily influenced by that Capcom, you know, art style, especially the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff. And you know, and then there's of course a big anime influence. And so you think about that, it's a lot of kind of a Japanese style that permeates into Joe's work. But then Joe has also these, you can see it in the early stuff, this kind of more American style cartooning where there's a roundness to the figure's hands and feet, which is maybe less the case in Japan. I'm generalizing quite a bit here. So I don't know if anybody remembers Ash. So when these guys got popular, instead of going to Image, they started their own company called Event Comics, which has a pretty cool logo. I kind of like it. This cover right here is a big one for me. It's one that I just like immediately was like, this is so cool. And this comic looked so cool to me. It's got, it's a wraparound, but it works so well, even without the additional elements. And the ties to those other elements, you know, they're here, but they don't read as like, you know, I kind of like that it works as both. This is like kind of peak for me as far as like me being into him as an artist. Although I did come back around on the Daredevil stuff, which maybe I'll pull out one of those. But this comic is simultaneously beautiful and completely hideous. All of the graphic design stuff that they were doing in these books, I flipped through one of them earlier, is an assault on the eyes. Oh my gosh, it is impossible to read half of what's going on their credits pages and their letters pages. Man, it is painful. But they got this fancy computer coloring, and Joe and Jimmy are, I think, really doing some cool stuff visually. It is getting a little bloopier. You're losing some of the angularity that the older Mignola had, which I really loved that stuff. But some of his actual layouts and things like this cool kind of foreshortening here, get a lot stronger in this stage of his career. And then I think that some of this early computer coloring kind of jives with not just his art, but the style of the book they were going for. So, you know, all these kind of overcolored digital fire things, it kind of works because the book has a flashiness to it. Joe always has really cool panel arrangements and stuff, and chooses just really cool dramatic low angles that are hard to pull off, but he does it really well, especially when he's exaggerating. Now I will say Ash is kind of the phase where you start to see the transition where he is starting to I don't know this, but it seems like he's starting to use more photo reference, and it changes the way he approaches his backgrounds. Like, I think his backgrounds on these pages are really beautiful. They're definitely not photo traced. I mean, if they are, I would be baffled, because they're cartooned, and so they match really well with what he's got going on here. And then the kind of, it plays back and forth with the exaggeration between the two. When you get really heavy into photo reference, sometimes you start losing the ability to kind of tie everything together, and it feels just like a bunch of pieces. At least that's what I see. But it's kind of a crazy comic. It's about a firefighter that turns into like a superhero guy. And I thought that at the time when this came out, I thought this costume looked so cool, the way it was sort of like a firefighter's costume, but a superhero costume. And the way he had this energy and the fire all around him all of the time. There's like a presence to the character. Kind of like Ghost Rider. When he shows up, you all know he shows up, right? Again, like this building here, maybe there's a photo reference, but it looks a lot more like it's cartooned, where you're taking what you know about the world and what you've seen and what you've drawn before, and you're just creating something that matches sort of your full-on creation of what the scene is. Whereas when you're using a photo reference, you're sort of trying to always jerry-rig it into like where it is, or you're trying to make your scene change to match the reference because you're using it. And I think it can be a little bit limiting sometimes. That being said, sometimes you got to use a reference. Looks like they had an interview with Jeff Darrow over here. Let's see what's something interesting here from his interview. His favorite books: Dinosaur Bob and almost any Reader's Digest selection. I feel like a lot of this is tongue-in-cheek. Favorite plays: Walt Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers stage show, and Waiting for Godot, and almost any Skyhook convention. But then I think these are his actual favorite movies: Ishtar, Days of Thunder, The Black Hole, La Femme Nikita, and Cowboy Way. He says he likes the Osmonds in Yanni. And this is when he was working on The Big Guy. Interesting. All right, and then here's a little pinup here. It looks like Ash and Big Guy fighting a monster. Ash is like way down here. I remember getting this. I didn't know as much about Darrow's work at this time, but when I saw this, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Okay, he also had this little kid death guy that he would draw, and I remember I came up with like a little character kind of like that when I was in like junior high and high school or whatever. So silly. But man, look at this graphic design. It is impossible. This is impossible to read. So sometimes when you get into these pages, he loses me. I feel like there's a lot of the same size characters spread out across the page, and so there's not a lot of things pulling me in. But then as soon as he gets back to the action, he seems to be in his element again. Yeah, this stuff, look at this. How are you supposed to read this? This is impossible. All right, let's look at one more, and then I'm going to do a little bit of drawing here. Let's look at a Daredevil. So for a short minute, Quesada was drawing Daredevil with David Mack writing it, and it's literally just a Kabuki comic with Daredevil in it. And, I was into Kabuki for a while. Eventually all the tracing got to me. But this is also some Quesada that I really like. I would say in general on Daredevil his stuff was a little more restrained as far as his figure work. It's still pretty cartoony and pretty exaggerated, but nothing like you were seeing in X Factor. And then his use of spotted blacks got a little more complex, and it's like more like what do they say? What do they call it? Chiaroscuro, where it's like the shadows are forming the figure. And then, of course, he does a lot of things. He's an artist that it seems like when he sees what someone else is doing, he'll always want to try it. So I feel like back on those X Factors, he was looking at Magnola and maybe trying to emulate that. And then on this, I don't know how much of that this was dictated by David Mack, but it just seems like Joe Quesada was really diving into some David Mack type things as the series goes on. But yeah, some of the stuff that's happening, I think, is that I don't know, the cartooning's still pretty good. There just seems to be a lack of depth to some of it. he obviously has these hero pages, right? We'll get to one. Like here's a kind of a hero page that's very dynamic, has a cool figure, Daredevil. You know, you draw that because you're like, someone's gonna buy that. You know, someone will buy a drawing of Daredevil. No one gives a crap about these other characters talking in a room. But yeah, really cool stuff. You got these puzzle pieces flying around with all the panels on them, pictures of Fisk. You know, it's a very David Mack kind of a thing. It's the kind of thing you'll see other artists do too, like Dave Gibbons or J.H. Williams. Really cool where they take visual elements of objects and sort of integrate them into the page design. And then you get some cool action here too. Like this is a heck of a little scene here. And then of course there's a woman. And then of course here is where we start seeing some of that early Isanov kind of coloring over Quesada that has this sketchiness feel to it. That they ended up using on those Wolverine Origin books. But I do feel like I'm seeing more photo reference, you know, here than we did in maybe the older Quesada stuff. And that might be a David Mack influence too. David Mack uses copious amounts of photo and other artists' art as reference / to trace. And but Quesada is still doing some really cool things here. There's a lot of great decisions here on what to render out and what not, and some cool poses. These cool ribbons flipping around the page, and some cool work by the whole team on these pages. Kind of cool. He's sort of a chameleon, I guess, in that regard. But his last two projects have not that he drew were not quite my favorites. I still gravitate towards that earlier stuff. Jeremy Heiler, hey, how's it going, pal? So I didn't know what I was going to draw, and I don't know if I'll even get anything drawn tonight, but we'll try. I was like, well, maybe I'll do a Daredevil. So I kind of started scribbling here. I don't have anything I'm in love with yet, but maybe we can just see what we can get done in the time that we have. I hope everyone has some good holiday plans on the way. Get some relaxing in. I like the holidays to feel relaxing. Inevitably, we end up planning a lot of things and seeing a lot of people. Whereas I just want to sit around and watch Mystery Science Theater and drink, holiday drinks, eat pie. So that was a Daredevil there, but I didn't like him. So we're gonna see if I can just come up with something maybe a little simpler and take advantage of some of the things we were just talking about. So maybe we go with kind of a larger figure. Let's try something like that. Been playing a little bit with proportions lately too. When I can. Obviously, when you're on a project, you try to keep it somewhat consistent. And I am finishing something now, but when I'm doing some of my recent commissions or other things, I'm just kind of goofing around a little bit with some proportion stuff. Maybe something like that, just like a holding the canes here thing. Drawing along. Hey, that's good to hear, Jeremy. What are you working on? Not as relaxed as hope. Too much stuff happening, but I'll find a day maybe. Same, buddy. Same. I will say it is that good and bad feeling of knowing I'm not traveling for the holidays. I feel good about it just because I do have a lot of anxiety with traveling, and also I do like being at my house. But then there's the kind of sad feeling of like, okay, I'm not going to see, X, Y, and Z family members this year, which is always a bummer, but that's the trade-off, I guess. Sometimes you can't always get what you want, but we're excited. We got some in-town plans, which are going to be very fun. I don't know, maybe something's not quite perfect yet here. Something. Lost something in here. I lost something in here. Let's see if I can find it again. I'm getting bogged down in the details sometimes here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I had a couple other things floating around in my head. Maybe one of those is the right path. I'm gonna leave it kind of messy here. Like I said, I haven't worked on paper in a while, so I'm just gonna let it play a little bit there. Let some layers build up. Looking good, Tyrell, Matt, Nick. Thanks. Sorry, I just erased it all. Jeremy has to drive to Georgia. Started your own series doing roughs for issue 1. Congratulations, pal. That's great. That's really great. Okay, similar energy. I want the figure to kind of be... a similar kind of energy here where he's kind of filling up a lot of the page. Yeah, starting off a project is always a lot of fun. I always like some of the earliest parts of getting a project together. Figuring out the characters, trying to, understand the visual style you're going for. It's definitely one of the funner parts of creating, in my opinion. That's what we were talking about, Henry. Christmas plans. Well, I'm hosting a Christmas dinner at my house, so I'll be cooking a lot. And my mother-in-law is coming to visit. She's wonderful, so that'll be good. And I think we're seeing the Nutcracker, I believe. I think so. On Christmas Eve, maybe. So yeah, should be a good time. There we go. This might be something, maybe. And we're going to trick it out here. All right, so. Matt Murdock. Daredevil. Okay, so I'm going to take the lessons we were learning. I'm going to try to do some just nice big spotted blacks here. I always struggle to find these on the first pass, but maybe we'll luck out today. All right, something like that. Still something feels weird here. Just move that in a little bit more. All right. What the heck, Tyrell? What is his, See, I'm terrible. I'm always forgetting how the characters look here. Let's pull out this one real quick. I like the red costume, but I do like the black and yellow as well. Excited and nervous, but the life of art. How about you? See anything new lately? Jeremy says. See anything new? I watched the Platform 2 If you liked the original Platform, you'll probably like the Platform too. Kind of a weird Spanish movie with kind of a cool concept. What else did I watch? I saw Trap, that new M Night, well, newish M Night Shyamalan movie. It was good, a good bad Shyamalan, you know, where it's not good, but it's fun and funny. So I enjoyed it. I think my wife, the other day, she was like, "What was that movie we watched where they're like trapped in a concert?" And I was like, "Trap?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "That was really bad." It's like, all right. Brutal review there, wife. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's new. I've been watching old stuff, as I am wont to do. Is Daredevil even in this comic? There he is. One shot at Daredevil. I bet he sold that for a lot of money. Okay, some boots. He's got his thing here. Okay. Big D. Okay, we're gonna take in some of that. How's that baby doing, Henry? If you're still on here. I heard you got to meet his great grandparents. Oh, these D's are pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I like those D's. That's kind of all right. I think that's kind of all right. All right, let's just see what happens here. Let's just see what happens, Tyrell. Come on. Be brave, boy. I'll just get another couple hits of Quesada here. I like the way he draws this dude's face. It's so funny. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's nice. Good shoulders. Kova's Lookout. Thank you, Kova, for saying sick Daredevil. Joe Q art covered in Smith's dialogue. Yeah. Well, I think this is a David Mack issue, right? Yeah, but the Kevin Smith stuff, that's really, honestly, really hard to read. I found it to be extremely cringe. And I actually don't think Quesada's art is as good at that point either, or at least not. I don't like it as much. Dig the Daredevil with the bandages and beard look they were doing. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, let's try something here. Let's do this. Let's. Oh boy. Sure, why not? Timothy Krellick says, Jeremy and Cove, what are you guys doing here? Huh. Guess they know each other. All right. Let's see if my brush pen still works. I haven't touched it for 2 weeks. That's probably not true. Well, don't get chicken now, Tyrell. Come on. Put those black shapes in there, dude. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's better. Yes, I know the clock. I know. I like it, okay? I like the clock. Yeah, that feels good, y'all. Feels good. Supporting Tyrell. Trying to make shows. Thanks. Yeah, Jeremy, you are good. Great gesture work, Timothy Krellick. Thank you. Thank you. I feel a little rusty today, so it's good to hear it's still functioning a little bit. I was kind of stoked that when they were doing that Kevin Smith, Quesada Daredevil, because at that point I hadn't completely soured on Kevin Smith. I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. You know, he knows about comics. He's a nerd. And man, oh man, I remember reading it and just being like, what is going on here? Like, this is terrible. I can't even put my finger on it other than it being verbose, which I should have expected, I guess. But hey, making good movies doesn't mean you're going to make good comics. That's one lesson we learned. Something's not quite jiving. Yeah, we might go with more something like that. BMC Comics, thank you. Just doing what I can, man. That's true. His scripts were better than his movies. That's a good point. I'm looking at it on the monitor sometimes just to kind of get a different view of it. Switch pens here. We're going to try a little bit with this. See what we can lock in here before we erase everything again. I erase a lot. So I don't need any advice on erasers. I think I got it covered. I think this pen dried out a little bit though since last time I used it. Yeah, this is going to be a nice, fun, quick one here. Okay. Jeremy's going through the Kevin Smith cycle of loving and hating. My favorite eraser is the Stettler Mars plastic eraser. The mono erasers are also pretty good. I don't find them to be extremely better. I tend to get more use out of these, right? Like they for the size and the value and how much I erase. I think these are usually the way I go. But I'll pick up monos here and there. They're fun for when I'm going around. I don't use any kind of gum erasers, kneaded erasers, anything like that. Oh, and then I use this little clicker eraser. It's just, I don't even know who made this. It's all rubbed off now. But, you know, it's like a little clicker eraser with you buy the cartridges for it. They're little, you know, little erasers. Because I do a lot of little detail things when I'm doing pencil drawings to sort of get it right. Okay, who's ready for me to smudge some ink like I always do when I erase? Let's go. Okay, let's do it with purpose, though. Let's keep it at a consistent angle of smudge. Okay, yeah. Yeah, see, this is the kind of sketch you want to do at a show. Just kind of keep it simple. And kneaded smudge too much. I definitely agree. The kneaded eraser smudged too much. I always like the chonky hands and feet that Quesada would do on Daredevil. Really nice big fat fingers. I think I can relate to that. I tend to draw with the big fat fingers on my folks too. Okay. So I think. So we're just going to add a few little sharpening points here. I want to leave some of this freeness I kind of have going on here, but sometimes you can help that stuff shine a little bit if I just put in a little more, you know, some delicate parts and some parts that close off gaps and stuff. At least that's what I've been trying to do lately, is at least have a little bit in here that's a little more, you know, I don't know what the word is for it. Delicate, refined. And, you know, sometimes you'll have a cool shape with your initial pass on the inks, right? I'll have that, and then I'll just think, oh, if I just put one little notch here next to it or one little extra thing, it could really just stick it into a new realm of cool, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. All right. Not sure what I want to do with that right now. I think I just need to black it out more. Just make it be. All right. Need a little white on here. Actual Dracula, good evening. Timothy Acrylic. When I pencil with graphite before I ink, I use a kneaded eraser first to be nice to my inks and surface. Then use a nylon eraser for all the harder stuff. Yeah. I will say, I will change the way I erase and the way I pencil if it's going to be on, like, say, a commission or something. I don't know. Sometimes I kind of like leaving some of that texture there, though. I don't know. To each their own. But sometimes you do want it to have a very clean feeling, and if that's what you're going for, you do have to be a little more picky with your erasers and be more conscious of that while you're doing your erasing. So he needs a little bit of white. Watch, my whiteout will also be so dry I can't use it. Well, it's definitely stuck. There we go. Alright, let's see what we got here. Yeah, probably work. The other thing Quesada would do is he would put these kind of rivet kind of shapes on the gloves. Like ribbing. They would have like elastic, I guess. Add a little bit of that there just to see. Okay, something went awry down here. I want to see if I can figure it out. That's kind of a little cooler, I guess. I don't know. Something there is still not sitting right with me. All right, we're not going to fuss over that too much. We're going to have fun because that's what I'm here for. I've been working on my Eris comic, and it's been great. I've been enjoying it. But when it's your own project and you know you want it to be perfect, it can make for some days where you can't let go of things. And I've been having a lot of those lately, where I'm like obsessing over the color shading on this arm that's like gonna be this big on the printed page, but I'm just like, oh, I gotta get it perfect. Sometimes I have to step back and remind myself, like, you know, it's not about every tiny detail all the time. Okay, so that's something. That's closer. I still think I need more black right there, actually, is what I need. Not white. When in doubt, black it out. So we're going to do a big no-no and just go straight back in here where we were. All right. Okay. A little more white right here. All right. That is closer to what I want, I think. I still don't like that, but all right. You know what we got to do, folks. We got to do some zips on here, and then we're going to call it. PS153 Sweet Daredevil, thank you. Is there a main tool that you ink with, or is it pretty even between different ones? I would say I use the Pentel brush pen the most, and the Zebra fine line probably second most. Tombow probably third most, and then an assortment of microns fourth most. Yeah, and then I use brushes, different brushes and for effects and things like that pretty frequently, and white out or pro white with a brush pretty frequently. It's kind of my most used things. The white out quite a bit. People have seen my streams before, I like to use the white. Nope. I've been ripping through this stuff lately, yeah. Screw it. Use this one. It is called Pro White, and it is a water-based it's like a watercolor basically, but it covers really nice, and you can thin it out if you want to get different kinds of effects with it. So I like it. Actually, I'm going to keep that out. See, you thought I was going to put it on Daredevil, but you would be wrong. Just get that out of there as quick as we can. Now we're going to burnish this down a little bit. Okay. I'm giving this maybe 15 more minutes. because I have a date with my couch. Been a long day, y'all. Good day, though. Finished up our Christmas shopping today. I just saw there's a Kickstarter running right now. I wish I could remember the name of it. There's a guy who made some stamps that you can, that basically stamp like screen tones. I mean, it doesn't have this variety, but it's a pretty cool concept because you just stamp it straight onto the paper. If you go to Kickstarter, I'm sure you'll find it. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but my buddy Riley Rossmo, he put it on his feed. And he showed me this stuff, and it was really cool. So if you're like looking for an alternative way to do zips or screen tones like this, that's one cool way to do it. So if you go to Riley's Instagram, there's a link there, I think. But I cannot remember it, and I'm not gonna look it up right now. I'm gonna finish this Daredevil. Keep looking for my trash can down there, but I forgot I moved it to the other side. Oh, jeez. Stupid thing. I'm just scratching these lines he uses, these like not spider webs, whatever they are. There we go. A little bit of that action going on. Okay. Okay. I think we're close. Where did my cap go? There we are. Got a couple thoughts here. Maybe with a number 2 I can bring those thoughts to life here. Timothy is going to get some deleter screens in the mail soon. You are going to love it, man. It is a lot of fun. Repeaters screen tone stamps, actual Dracula says. So that must be what they're called. And yeah, it's on Kickstarter right now. And it looks like they have like different varieties you can get. Okay, do I want to pump up some of these blacks right here? I might do something like this. Darn it. Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Still a couple more tricks we can do here. And then we'll say we're good. Oh, you know what I'm going to use? So on these screen tones, you can use a sand eraser and kind of erase into it a little bit. It's kind of a neat little hack I heard about at Heroes Con. I'm still spacing on the guy who told me. I feel terrible. And it takes some of the dots off in kind of a different way than scratching. And then the other trick I was going to do is maybe just a little bit of a edge light on here. Sometimes it's the little bits that can help. And sometimes they're just fun to do. All right, there's Daredevil. Might put this one in the shop. I don't know. It's kind of different. It's kind of different. Well, thanks everybody for showing up. If you haven't subscribed and liked the video and subscribe and hit the bell and all that, that would be really cool if you could do that right now. I'm not going to stream next Tuesday, but I am hoping that soon after the holiday I will be back on here with some more fun stuff to show you. You can pick up my books in my website, tyrellcannon.com, and like I said, subscribe, hit the bell, maybe tell one friend if you liked the show today. Say, hey, I watched this guy, he looks at old comics, and send him my way. That'd be really cool. Check in with the chat one more time here. Smoke detector battery needs replacing. Elephant chainsaw, you are right, and that is my neighbors, and they're just not doing anything about it. Jeremy says sick. All right, folks, read some more comics, draw some more comics, and everybody have a happy holiday. I'll see you later.